We have a guest in our house. My name is Kenneth Alvarez. And his name is Mike Wallace, and he's going to talk about the history of Salem, Oregon in 1844.
Yeah. Hi, I've been really blessed having my friend Richard. He's an artist, and I get this. You can't believe all the beautiful animals and people he can paint. And I did 250 faces myself. But what brought us together was Jesus. He walked in off the sidewalk, and he sat down next to me, and that was his mistake. He sat down next to me, and we've been friends ever since. But this is the history of coming to Oregon, and the beautiful song called "Oh Susanna, Won't You Cry for Me." We come from Alabama with a banjo on our knee. And why he's going to cry, because there was called mountain sickness, and so she was strong. She walked the whole way in 1845 from Jump Off Joe, St. Joseph, Missouri. She went the whole way. She walked it. Well, he was in the wagon. And I have here pictures of them coming across on the wagon train. But I'm going to jump from, oh good, there's all my good stuff. I'm going to jump from the new to the old, okay? This is going to be 1845. And what makes this so special is people don't know what I know. And you only held accountable for what you know. And a lot of people don't know what I know. And since I have a history, I studied the books. I found out all this information, like what a friend we have in Jesus. That man was going to marry my great-great-grandma, O. Susanna's sister. And so she died 2 days before the wedding. And so it's very exciting for me to share all this. And then her brother married a lady in Salem, and she wrote the song called Jesus Paid It All. Now, if you're a Protestant or a Catholic, you know those songs are very, very powerful for building trust and hope in Jesus. So I call it his story. His means Jesus' story, and this is going to be my story of 1845 coming to Oregon. But 1844, there was something real sweet that happened. I mean, it was so sweet. Jesus in the cloud. And it didn't happen. October 22 was just 2 days ago. It's been exactly 180 years ago. That's a long time, man. And most people, I've got some papers here, they ask Independence Declaration, when was it signed? And the lady, she says, that was done in 1964. People are not educated today. They don't know nothing about the past. They keep people ignorant on purpose. This is all done on purpose, people, to make a one world order. And that's what it is. It's a terrible order. It's an order to downplay, to make us all slaves. But this is a beautiful story about October 22, Jesus in the cloud. We took off on Jump Off Joe. She told her dad, says, Dad, we Adventists, Jesus didn't come. Jesus didn't come. And we don't know why. Well, 30 days later, they figured out in the Bible, there's a verse in Revelation 10, verse 10, like the 10 Commandments. 10:10, there's going to be something sweet in the future, and it's going to turn real bitter in the belly. Now, I was so sick yesterday. I had E. coli. And a lady gave me at the dental office, my wife had her tooth pulled for $600. It took 2.5 hours to pull her tooth, and she was almost as bad a shape as I was. And the dentist even come out to the house. But people, they don't know all this information I'm sharing with you. And it's so wonderful that I was able to revive off of charcoal. So don't go to your doctors. Get the simple remedies. Because the doctors are going to give you a drug with side effects. Guaranteed. It's going to lose your legs, diabetes, everything. Stick to water, fruits, nuts, and grains. And people have missed out on the vegetable. The vegetable is so powerful that it's on from the ground, it's got the selenium, and nowadays everything's nitrated. There's no good foods out there anymore. So if you think fruit's going to save you, it's the vegetables. The Bible calls them the bitter herbs. The bitter herbs are the dandelions. That's why his name is Daniel and the Lion. Daniel and the Lions. The dandelion is so strong. I know a guy that he can do 1,000 push-ups at 70 years old. Now, that means something to me. And her wife's name is Victoria Botinko, and she come up with a green smoothie. Now, a lot of people put a lot of fruits in it, but if you want to really get tough like her husband, he sticks almost straight raw. But this is the story. So I'm going to jump from now to the old. So I'll put my hat on. But before I get going too much, I want to share with you the presidents of the United States. Now, JFK was my favorite president. Why? Because they thought he was a Catholic. He wasn't. He was raised one. But when the PTO boat sunk, he changed. Why? Because an Adventist minister gave him mouth to mouth and brought him back to life. Put him in the canoe, covered him up with reeds, and he was drowned. He was blue, completely blue. Saved his life. He swam like 10 miles in the ocean there with his PTO boat. And so he said, I need to do something for you. He said, no, I'm an Adventist pastor. I can't take money. But he said, you say your father, great man in America, will you remember always separation of church and state? And that's what made John F. Kennedy, Bobby Kennedy, Marilyn Monroe was better than Jacqueline Onassis. Jacqueline Onassis was the one who hailed Kennedy to get shot. She's a Roman Catholic nun. Now, we had a president's deal. Now the vote's coming up. Everybody's wondering what to do. We're very popular right now. But your vote means nothing. Absolutely. They're doing this on purpose to make you think you're somebody. Trump is a Roman Catholic. I call her McCall Practice. She's the one that wants to kill the babies. Trump wants to save the babies. I'm more in favor of, but he's going to bring in what you call a Sunday law. It's been planned out for over 200 years, but this is the man, but don't worry. He's going to repent, because I love Trump. I just love that man. He knows how to repent. And even though all these things, the scandals, the air shooting in the sky, they're just threatening him, because they're going to kill him like his father. Mussolini was his father, and Hillary's dad was Hitler. Now, you didn't know that, but I studied it all out, and you don't have to believe me, but just think on it and weigh it out. But that's why they have a banquet. It's called the Smith Banquet. It says, Priest Smith, get off that boat, get off that boat. Why to get off that boat? Because the Titanic is going to go down, and the Catholic priests, they want to save him. They were screaming that over there in Ireland, England, when the beautiful Titanic came across. Now, the Titanic was sunk on purpose because there was 3 men on it. There was Guggenheim, Strauss, and Astor. In the after story, that's where I was born. Those are the 3 men to get rid of the gold standard. So World War I was financed by the United States, both sides. World War II is being financed by the United States, both sides. And World War III, we're in it right now. Biden is financing both sides. It's all to do with making money. And they don't care about lives. Lives means nothing to them. They want to remove 7 billion people. There's too many people out there. But let Jesus take care of that. He's our creator God. And we shouldn't be aborting our babies. If you want to do your baby, adopt it out. There's people that want that baby because it's divine sperm and egg. God's the one that plans this, not you. You might have made a mistake by marrying the wrong person, and most people do marry the wrong person. But Jesus, we shouldn't have these abortions, and do all you can to prevent even having a pregnancy on somebody that you don't want. Well, anyway, and I know there's rape. You have to pray all the time because I don't have all the answers, but I do have a contrite heart, and that's in Psalms 34. I've wrote 60 chapters of the Bible, and Jesus, there's exactly 60 from Adam to Jesus. Now, this here is in Mexican, because I love the Mexicans because they let me sing 60 times in their church. But these are the generations of Jesus Cristo. And it's awesome here. There's Jesus, and here's Adam of the Bible. But the world started over with the flood. So when the world started over, could it be? Could it be? Could it actually be? Yes, it is. He's the Lord of the Sabbath oath. He's exactly 7 times 7. So as you see it, there's 7 this way, 7 that way, 7 this way, and 7 that way. He's the Lord of the Sabbath oath. And they call it the Lord of Sabaoth. He is the Lord of the Sabbath oath. And these are the beautiful lines of Jesus Cristo. And see, here's Enoch. He's number 7. God takes the 7 people. But don't worry, there's a lot of good Protestants and Catholics out there. And they don't understand that you look at any Bible, you can't find one verse in the Bible that says to go to church on Sunday. Back in Egypt, they had a thing called Sun God Day. And remember, our calendar is not written by us. It's written by the Vatican, the Gregorian calendar. So we hold a lot of our own holidays, and I've got papers here called Capernalia, Ishtar, Samhain, Saturnalia. Right now we're in Samhain. We're weaning our children from our moms and dads by these wars that the Pope is doing both sides. So Ukraine, both sides. Putin, it's all to do with the Ashkenazis. There's a 13th tribe. It's called 747, May 14. I've got books and stuff here to show you on it. But I better not get too far away. I want to do The Presidents of the United States by John F. Kennedy. Taught me mnemonics. So pay attention as I do. So you remember it. So if you go to grade school, kids, you can memorize. And we're at the time of Abraham Lincoln right now. But this is Wash A. That's Adam. Wash A. Jeffy. Made. That's Madison. Monday. At Jack Van Harry Tyler. Polk Taylor Fillmore Pierce a buck Lincoln Wash A. Jeffy made money at Jack Van Harry Tyler's. Polk Taylor Fillmore Pierce a buck John U. Grant Hay Garfield. I know you can't see this. Art. Cleveland. Harry's. Clever. Mick. Rooster. And Taft. Will hardly cool Hoover's rooster. That sounds kind of silly, but this is how you memorize to be smart in school. I went to 3 different colleges. And then Tick. John Nixon's Ford cars Reagan Bush C Bush and bomb Trump, Biden, and I'm going to be bold, I'm going to put Trump right here. Because he won the electorals 2 years ago and he won the popular. But you got to realize the electorals and the popular don't win the vote. It's a selector that does the selecting, and that's the Pope. The Pope is the one in charge of picking who he wants, and he owns both sides. When Bush Jr. was running against John Kerry, they both belonged to Yale University Skull and Bones. Now, Skull and Bones, what does that mean? Skull and Bones is the Nazis. First is the bridge builders taking the bridges, and then the Skull and Bones come over and they kill everything. And so that's where the word Skull and Bones. And Tobiah, Uncle Tobiah, and the plaza of the towers coming down. Bush Jr., he took those towers down. And then Obama, he blew up the bay, the 7 oil rigs. That was Obama. And then the third one is Biden, Florida. Those weather deals in Florida, they're trying to clear it out because Russia's in Cuba right now. So they took 2 HARP, H-A-R-P. You guys don't know the word harp, but it sounds like you want to play a harp. It's H-A-R-P. HARP's doing that. Weather alterations all these storms are done on purpose. There's going to be one coming across the Pacific anytime. And it's going to take out 1,000 seaports. So Los Angeles, Seattle, it's coming, people. That's how cruel the popery is. Now, the Catholics are beautiful people. The Mormons, the Muslims, everybody's beautiful. But the top leaders, there's an initiation, an agenda, and they want to kill and start the world over. They've got the underground caves already made. There's one up here, up at Crawfordsville, up in the mountains there. There's jets that just fly right straight out of the mountain. People that were so duped to think that we're safe with a savior, which is our president, but they're ran by the Pope, so we're not safe. The only safety we have is in reading that Bible and memorizing Bible scripture. When we die, there's not one single person that's taken anything with him. I don't care if you're Gates, Trump, anything. Harris, you've got nothing. And if you were going to be a puppet for somebody like Putin's office, Zelensky, what's that guy's name? Yahoo? Satan Yahoo? And then, did you know that Yahoo and Bill Clinton and Biden were best friends 40 years ago? This war has been planned for a long time. They've had those underground things. They want to knock out those beautiful Palestinians. It's just kill, kill, kill. There's money in making these instruments of war. Lots of money. And then Clinton, he gave the nuclear warhead power secrets to China. Why did he give them to China? Because Hillary owns the chemotherapy. That's called sorcery in Revelation. She went from Germany to China. Hitler moved his whole thing. Hitler wasn't killed. Hitler just died 2 years ago in Hungry Horse, Montana. I talked to the man. He was at my, we have sheep on our property, and he was taking my picture, and I was chasing the eagles away. And I said, don't write me up for this. He said, oh no. And I said, see those chemtrails up there? Yeah, there's lines in the sky. What is that? He says, that's aluminum, and there's other chemicals. Sun hits it and warms the globe. The Pope is trying to get rid of 7 billion people. So they're warming up the earth, and they've already got their underground cities. This is all high tech right now that's going on. But these here, this is what I want to show you. This is the time period that I'm in. This is O Susanna's time, and there was 2 great men during this time. There was Ellen G. White, and my brother Richard here is an artist. And I wanted to steal the picture. It was so good that he pencil sketched. But I didn't get back with the lady. I was going to give her a couple $100. But I think the family might have thrown it away. I hope they didn't, because I wanted it. But there was 2 great health temperance people. One was Charlie Brown. You've heard the word Charlie Brown before, haven't you? Okay, that's him. He's a Roman Catholic priest in 1860. And the other one was Sister White. Those people there went around the world. I mean, they literally went around the world. Those are the 2 greatest people that have ever walked the face of this earth. The Catholic priest and the Adventist lady, Ellen G. White. Now, what makes Charlie Brown so special is, his name's Charlie Brown Chiniquy. He wrote a book. It's called 50 Years in Rome. 50 Years in Rome. Get the book. My wife got the original for $300 in Europe, and I loan it to people, and I'm losing a few pages. But you can get this book right here, and it tells the whole secret of what Rome's been doing. Charlie warned Lincoln, they're going to kill you. The Pope's going to kill you. And you think about the war, the Civil War, that was started by the Pope. Now, people say that can't be. Well, I've got a proof right here on this deal here is Robert E. Lee. This is what they had back in 1860. And it said right on it, right hand of falsehood, says made in Italy. Now, why in the world is this thing made in Italy? It makes sense. So they paid the whole way. That's why they wore the red coats. They got a red tie. That shows you the Pope owns the President of the United States. They got a red hat club. Everything's red, this, red that, red neck. Everything has to do with the Pope, because he's even got the red shoe. So people that don't know how dangerous and terrible this is. John the 23rd invited Jacqueline Onassis 1 year before the slaying of Kennedy. And did you know that just 2 days before Kennedy was killed, he was at the Vatican. the Black Pope, Johnson, and then Paul VI. He took John 23rd's place, saying, "You better change your ways, Jack, or you're going to be a Jack in the Box." Well, he didn't care. He did not care. Lincoln didn't care. He died in the Lord, and we're here for a short time. Well, this October 22, people, is where the judging of the dead began on that day. And people aren't aware that I firmly believe we're in the judging of the living, because there's going to be 1,000 years where we get to go through the books and see why somebody's not here. And I have a bad record. I have a bad thought record. And so I'm hoping Jesus will clear my slate, because that's what people don't understand. Jesus can put any sin you got in the depths of the sea, and we don't have to keep blowing it back up. That's why a lot of people, they say, "Well, I'm not going to let you back in church. You got a record." Hey, man, if I could look in your thought pattern, I'd find out that your record was worse than the one that's in the one in jail. I know that for a fact. But this is awesome how all this comes together. And these are some of the books. This is the Psalms of the Bible. I wrote 49 Psalms of the Bible, word for word. And the one that really got me the best was called Psalms 31. It wasn't Jesus, 31 AD. And it said in there, "In thee, O Lord, do I put my trust. Let me never be ashamed." And the next one is verse 4, I think. It talks about the secret net. That secret net is what's coming down. We've got a globe of global warming to kill. Right now, there's 1,000 line clouds in the sky. Yesterday and today was just the worst of ever. Now they hide them up in the cloud, but you can see through the clouds and you can see what it is. You can see differences. There's something going on, people. There's a real nice guy at the church that Richard and I go to, and Stan, he goes to prison ministry, and I got him looking at the sky all the time. He says, "Mike," he says, "it's so obvious. They get bigger and bigger, and the sun hits it and warms the globe. It's so simple to see, but they don't share it. The tower's coming down. Why did those towers come down?" Silverstein even admitted it. He says, "Well, we had to pull it." What does pull it mean? When did they put those thermate connectors in? Right there at the CIA building, right next to it. Building number, what was that called? Right, they did the two towers in Dublin, and there was no jet hitting it. And it wasn't, God stopped it. It was supposed to happen immediately, but they gave them 45 minutes, and that's when they should have all got out. But there wasn't a single Jew that died. The good Jews and the bad Jews all got out in time. So it was all planned ahead of time. There was testimony after testimony of people. And the beautiful Mormon professor down there in Utah, he said every particle of dust has thermate in it. Every part. Now, where does thermate come from? It comes from the United States government. This thing of a terrible thing of David Koresh. Did you know the only ones killed at the David Koresh was Clinton's bodyguards? He had 4 bodyguards, and you know too much. He has love affairs in the morning. You know too much, so guess what? Friendly fire killed them. They're the only ones that were killed. Now, they killed all the other children and stuff, but this David Koresh, I don't like the man myself, but he would walk and jog to the police station once or twice a week and have coffee with the sheriff of Waco, Texas. Something's going on here. And these boots are made for walking. That's the song they were always singing and everything. Frank Sinatra was one of the top of the Pope's puppets. And so I know an awful lot. But pay attention to this here. This is so cool to see. The presidents, Washington Jeffrey, Maid Mundy, and Jack Van Harry Tyler, Polk Taylor Fillmore, Pierce Buck Lincoln, John U. Grant Hay, Garfield's Art in Cleveland, Harry's Clever McRooster, Taft Harley Cool, Hoover's Rooster, Tick, Truman, Eisenhower, and Kennedy, Tick, John Nixon's Ford cars, Reagan, Bush, Baum, Trump, Biden, Trump. Now, it could be Harris, but I'm pretty sure. And by the way, Trump is at McDonald's right now, but that's not good food, people. You stick to water and the basics, you know. And so I have a ministry where I call myself, I have all the answers. And here's the answer right here. A-N-S-W-E-R-S. Answers. A is for air. Try to get as much fresh air. Don't lock yourself in a house. N is for nutrition. S is sunshine. W is water, not Pepsi Cola. Pepsi means Pepsi no. And just like donuts, do not eat. exercise, rest, and Mike Wallace's scripture songs. That's my bottom line. So these are things here I like to share. And coming across, and you didn't know this, but this is special to me because this is the Martin guitar. I'll put this down here. This is my original horn. I have Divine Appointments. It's 1960 when I got it. I found it in a pawn shop 50 years later for $45, my original horn. And my neighbor next to me, he had one. And I have a feeling that if God did that kind of a miracle, he could give me Vince Powers' cornet too. Now, see, here's the dinners for the homeless people at the bridge. You know what bridge that is? It was the Wallace Bridge. Now they call it the Marion Bridge. But I want to do one of these presentations for the people, because the people that don't know, all Salem was owned by my parents. And I think that's kind of special, you know. And guess what? My ex-wife, she lives over there on our old land. But we moved down to Wolf Creek, and that's where we met Charles Converse. Oh, Charles Converse, who's that? That's the one who wrote the melody. He didn't write the words. He's just like me. I can make melody, but I use the Bible and I'm able to put it so you can memorize it. That's what I have, attention deficits. I do 10 things at once. I'm not good at anything except climbing trees. And I'm on YouTube. You can find it. It's maybe I should write it down here, but I pretty well got it down here. This is how you can find me on YouTube. My brother Richard. It's called Michael Dean. He was a missionary to Tahiti, so I'm part Tahitian. Wallace. Okay. And then the other one is Mike D. Wallace. You can find me on YouTube, and I just have miracles. I don't have very much money, but I have a lot of hope in Jesus, so I have more than anybody else has, because nobody else has these 7 times 7 generations. Nobody's been invited to the Mexican churches because they're not contrite. They want to control everybody, and I just tell my message about Jesus. From Adam to Jesus at 60, and then the world started over with Shem, Ham, Japheth. So this is this right here is, see here, that's Shem's firstborn. Arphaxad, Selah, Heber, Peleg, Ru, Serug, Nahor, Terah, Abram, Isaac, Jacob, Judah, Phares, Ezra, Aaron, Aminadab, Nathan, Solomon, Boaz, Obed, Jesse, David, Solomon, Rehoboam, Abiah, Assi, Joshaphat, Joram, Ozias, Joas, Achan, Ezekiel, Manasseh, Amen, Jessaniah, Jeconiah, Salzah, Zebub, Abiah, Azek, Zadok, Achab, Eliezer, Nathan, Jacob, Joseph in the Bible, Joseph and Mary. But it's beautiful, the 60. Richard was so good to be able to put it all on there, but that's the boat that came right here. This is the starting point for the new world. And there's actually seashells on top of Mount Everest. So if you think the world is 5 billion years old and stuff, I was, my first child was born in Montana. But my wife I have now, we took a trip up because my son was living up at Great Falls, Montana. There's dinosaurs up there. I mean, big dinosaurs. And they said, whoa, the world's 5-6 billion. Those were amalgamation that the devil used to destroy people. It's really something how that works. But anyway, the guy that was a professor there, and he was telling me about the world was 6 billion years old. I said, sir, I think it's 6,000. And I think you got your zeros all mixed up. And he said, well, he says, I'm an evolutionist. He says, but I never really heard your side of the story. Well, the man, in an hour, he let me talk an hour, and I can talk an hour. I have a gift of talking for an hour. Anyway, when I got done, he says, you know what? I think I'm wrong. He says, the oil squeezes into plants, make fossil fuel. And he says, the canal going to Columbia, the Grand Canyon, everything points to the flood. And he says, maybe it is 6,000 years. And you didn't know this, but you can take a galvanized pipe, put a piece of wood in it with water, and seal it off and put big pressure under it. In 7 days, it turns into rock, hard rock, in 7 days. So that's why diamonds can be made in 7 days. And people say, oh, it took 6 billion years to make that diamond. It's all lies. It's all happened during that terrible. And you didn't notice, but when the world was made, God made a layer to protect us. So we didn't have spring, summer, fall. It was all the same all the time. So this layer of water, you could see through it, kept everything the same temperature. And sin got bad. Everybody become gays, lesbians. They didn't have a husband and wife. They switched over. They call it swinging nowadays. There's nothing to swing with. We're not monkeys in the trees. It's very evil what people are doing there. But when you have the 10 Commandments, you got a guideline. You got something there. And the 10 Commandments weren't formed during Exodus time. The 10 Commandments, you can read Genesis 1 and 2. It was written from the beginning. Even God rested on the seventh day. So it's really special. But I know there's going to be millions of people saved that keep Friday or keep Sunday. But Sunday is the sun god day, and Friday is the Frig, which is called Isis. So now they got the Trinity. And December 8th was the Catholic day. December 8, 1854, we're in the old time. That's when the Pope changed it over. And this man right here, Charlie Brown, Chiniquy, you know, the comedy Charlie Brown, he looks just like him even. He says, can you imagine somebody saying this is this way and then it's not? This way, he says, and Charlie Brown, they didn't like him. And guess who the one that hated him was? Reagan. Now, have you heard the word Reagan before? And you say, well, Reagan was a good guy. There's not a single person that hasn't been controlled. When Reagan became president of the United States, he faced the obelisk in 1981. When he faced the obelisk, that was the signal that the Adventists, the Methodists, the Baptists, the Catholic, everybody, the Mormons, the Muslims, all are under the control of the papacy. Now you say, oh, that's pretty strong. So who invented communism? The Pope did. Remember there was a time in the Bible that says 1929 where Mussolini he just went underground. Where did he go? He went to China and Russia. And so all that is just unreal how people can block their brain and think that's just going to, they didn't pay nobody, but they paid all the money for those mission parts. That's why the whole world, and that the Vietnam War was called the Catholic War, because they want drugs. Drugs, and Obama's wife, Michael, her name isn't Michelle, she's a man. She played Oregon State football. People are just lied to. But and she got caught with her whole yacht clear full of, they didn't do nothing about it because she's the president's wife, man-wife. And she's the one that brought in the gay rainbow colors and stuff. Did you know that the center for all crime is Jerusalem? Did you know that Jerusalem and Israel doesn't own Israel? That's the place they put these people called the Sabbath Jews so they can kill them one more time. Rothschild owns Israel. Rothschild owns England. Rothschild owns the United States of America. And so the Reagan, he's the one that built the FEMA prisons. The FEMA prisons? What's that? That's where they're going to take us to. Did you see the cable down I-5 freeway? That's there for a reason. You can't turn around. It used to be a safety thing. When there's going to be a wreck, you can go out there and you don't get it. Now you hit the cable. People are, we don't think. We just think that the government's going to take care of us. It's a secret government that nobody even knows exists. It's called the secret terrorist. And they blame us as being terrorists that want to tell the truth and that Jesus is the Son of God, the Lamb of Revelation 14. But people, you just have to wake up. I don't know if I brought this in, but this was actually on the wagon train, 1844. Found in Silo, Oregon. I got this one. I paid $400 for this. I paid $600 for the other. It sounds like a lot of money, but you can't find this stuff. It's pretty rare. And this is in mint shape. What they did, they take the oxen, and they had a baby calf with it. And the oxen, they would drink the milk of the oxen because it's like drinking cow's milk. So they had their Mayflower dairy right there with them. But I just praise the Lord. I got so many beautiful antiques. Now this is my 1893 top of the line Washburn. Washburn was before Martin guitar. His name is Martinez, but Martin guitar. And it's in mint shape. I had to buy it back. because the Mexican, she's going to take it to Nicaragua. So one of my friends, she saved it for me because she liked it too. Because it's little, it's cute. It's got mahogany in the back, top of the line in 1893. And this here is the year, I've even got my other violin here. This here is the year the Martin was started, 1833. What happened in 1833 that scares the world? The falling of the stars. You can go to the Alabama license plates and you see those things coming down. Those are the stars that were falling. They didn't forget it. They even put it on all the license plates. But this is I have in here, I fixed up 30 I'm not professional, but I like fixing up. I bought it out of a music store for quite a bit of money. It's called Grace Wins. I got all their junk. It's not junk, it's valuable stuff. But that's what I find. This here is a violin, and it says on the inside it here, it says, I have so many that I actually cut a hole out so people can read it. It says on there, refurbished in 1871. So I call it the Chicago Fire violin, and it plays just beautiful. I fixed up 30 violins. I've got 10 at the house, and I got about 5 I have to fix up yet. But I like putting $60 strings on them and fix them up and give them to little children. And one little girl in Eugene. Oh yeah, I think. But people, Mr. Stainthorpe, he did this for me. He owned a music store in Lebanon, Oregon, and I had one violin in there, and he acted like he wasn't interested in it. But he gave himself away. It had the word, that violin that's worth a lot of money. They said there's about 2 missing. He says, Mike, he says, don't get rid of this violin. He says, you only paid $100 for it, and you put that ebony board on it. He says, this could be the real violin that is missing, because it's just beautiful. So I'm fortunate I happen to have neat stuff. This is my pride and joy. My wife paid $300 for this book. I paid $300 for the 50 Years in Rome book. This is an 1844. Now, nobody has an 1844, but O Susanna was an Adventist coming to Oregon during the time of Abraham Lincoln, and this is the 1844. Now, I've got some beautiful people from around the world here, one from Mexico City. I got the names. I got Pearl Izella. She gave me about $3,000 worth of books. And I have miracles because I have attention deficit. So I jump from one thing to another. I get practically nothing done. But anyway, I have a problem because I run a power saw. I can't hear, I can talk good, but I can't hear a word. But I ruined it from too much power saw and lawnmowers and stuff. And I got about 40 power saws. I like the light ones because I can get up in the tree. I'm a monkey. I can 100-foot tree. I'm not scared of nothing. I don't have no brain. I'm not afraid. And but I ruined it really bad. So I had to find some books. Now this one says, who wants to play a harp? I do. I've got auto harps in my house. I got over 10 of them. I have over 100 instruments. I collect instruments. My wife puts up with me. I got 5 pianos, 4 now. I've got another one hidden in my U-Haul truck, so she doesn't know I have that one. But I have an air organ. I have divine appointments of meets, but I had to have 2 books, one here, and then I put the C-clamp on. Well, I got all these books from Izella, and it said Crossfire. Crossfire? Isn't that a dance? Something called Crossfire? Well, this was a child that was caught in the crossfire down in Mexico. Because see, communism came in big in Mexico back in 1970 or something like that. Big time, big blow. And so the people that owned the land, the communists came in and they would take their cows, and even the cows cut off just one leg and take it home and eat it. And while the cow's suffering, come back the next day and get another leg. Just ridiculous. So he got pretty mad. This man, he joined the army called the Civil Army or whatever. They call them terrorists, but they were trying to save their land. So it was a big fight. But they had a big mountain, hidden mountain in Mexico. You got to go 40 miles to get to it and stuff. And but the little boy, he was caught in the crossfire. The little boy, it means a lot to me because I have divine appointments. I pray a lot. And a lot of people don't want to hear me sing, but I can sing really pretty scripture, complete chapters. Anyway, I was heading up to Washington, Spokane. I said, Lord, you know they're going to let me sing. I said, but could you send a Mexican? Because there's hope there. He'll let me sing. And so I went up there to October 22. It was a big time, you know. And you got to be careful, not too much rhythm. The blacks, they don't like to have too much rhythm. So I got to be careful to kind of slow it down. Anyway, I saw this guy. I said, are you from Saudi Arabia? He says, no, I'm a Mexican. You're a Mexican? Wow. I says, I prayed for a Mexican to play my songs. And Richard here, he's recorded me, and Taylor, they've recorded me, and Mitko from Romania have recorded me. And I says, but nobody wants to record me. He says, here's my smartphone, have at it. And so he put me around the world. And he's going like this. He couldn't believe it. They loved my music. He couldn't believe it. He says, nobody's ever heard this before. I did God is Our Refuge and Strength, a Very Present Help. He says, Mike, they just love your music. He says, nobody paid much attention to my channel until you just came on. And so I got visiting and stuff. His name was Salvador Gomez. But here's the deal. The book I told you about was about a guy called Oscar. And so I'm reading about Oscar. I got about page 80. And guess what? Since he's part of the terrorists, when they killed those cows, his dad forgot. He had his son with him. He's 8 years old. He saw him take their heads off of all those communist people, you know, that were taking his cows out. They're not paying for it. They should pay for it if they want one of his cows. And so he saw all the heads come off. And, you know, boy, 8 years old, that's traumatic, you know. So he told his wife, I'm so sorry, I forgot. There he was right on the rail watching the whole thing. Well, they had to flee, of course, because they come back to find out there's 40 people missing. And so they fled up in the mountains, and they have underground, just like over there in Palestine, they got underground where Hamas is hiding and this and that. And they just killed Sinwar. See, his name isn't Sinwar. His name isn't Rumsfeld. His name isn't Abomination. These names are Rothschild, Odd Rockefeller. The Rock is the Pope, and the fellow is the strange fellow. These are Masonic names, so you know whose side you're on. But anyway, they went up there and hid. This kid was only 9 years old. He got so sharp that he even shot down helicopters. At 9 years old, he killed over 100 people of the communists. And so anyway, they told him where the secret cave was to shut all the power off. He was on night watch. Can you imagine a 9-year-old boy, Richard, doing this here? He was, because his dad was top man. See, his son was top man. And so guess what? He fell asleep behind watch. You know, he's supposed to be watching the camp of 2,000 people there. And he fell asleep. And I heard an explosion. They found it. Well, what it was, there's always people, secret people coming in. That's what secret societies are all about. They sneak in, Clinton and this and that. That's Hitler's son-in-law. All these people are just, and nobody says a word. Joanne Rivers, she told everybody right on TV, she says, everybody in Hollywood knows that Obama's wife is a man. And guess what? She's dead the next week. They've killed her. There's another guy called Aaron Rousseau. He got friends with Nicholas Rockefeller. And Nicholas Rockefeller was invited him to his mansion. And he was running for governor of Nevada. Built big friendship. And he started telling secrets about the chip in your forehead and this and that. And Bin Laden had property. And his oldest brother, Salem bin Laden, Bush's bought their land in Texas. Told him a lot of secrets. He says, and we're going to kill 7 billion people. He said, why do you want to kill everybody off? He said, don't worry, we'll save you. He says, no, that's not right. Well, he got so belligerent, they broke their friendship. Guess what? Yeah, Aaron Rousseau was shot in the head. And now they said there's nobody named Nicholas Rockefeller. It's just one lie after one lie after. But anyway, I found that book, and I didn't know I had it. And this man became an Adventist, this little boy. How he became an Adventist is because when his dad took him into camp, he blew up, he found it, blew up so they couldn't get their ammunition, so he blew it all up. And then he had to walk 60 miles, 9-year-old boy walking 60 miles in the jungle to his house. I mean, this guy's unreal. And I happen to know the guy, you know, he's put me around the world. I didn't know it at the time. His name's Oscar in the book. And then right at the last, he gets into the camp where his dad is. He said, oh, my family's here. Well, he didn't see the communists because he's just so busy seeing his dad. Well, when his dad saw him, he ran and he escaped. So he was hid for 4 years. It's an amazing story I have. I want Richard to read it. And here's what happened was, they take him now, and he took his mother in there, and there's blood. This man, this captain, killed 80 of his family members. 80! That's a lot of family gone down the drain with your heads cut off. And so they took him in there. So you know he's going to get killed. And the captain did all he could, and finally he couldn't do nothing more with it. He told the general, he said, General, I can't. What do you mean? He's only 9 years old, and you can't do nothing with that guy to get him to talk where his dad is? And so anyway, it got real lively. They eagled him out, stretched him out as much as they could, slapped the daylights out of him and everything. And they said, okay, uno, dos, tres. That means 1, 2, 3. The guns are going to go at your head. Boom. So it goes like this. The little 9-year-old boy. Okay. He says, oh, that was just a warning shot. Okay, but people, this is the real thing. And the captain, he's bawling his head out. He says, no, you're not going to kill this one. This one here, if we had people like him, we could win the world. This man's so loyal to his father and his family, trying to save his family, and all we did was come in here and we killed them all. We killed his whole family out. For what reason did we kill them all? It got real lively. So anyway, this guy's bawling his eyes out. He says, the general left, and so the soldier says, son, he says, you got no papers. You got no history of your name or anything. We've erased it. But I'm going to give you a new name. It's going to be Salvador, not Oscar. It's going to be Salvador Gomez. And so I was just reading this book. All of a sudden it turned from Oscar to Salvador. So he's named after the captain that killed 80 of his family members. I just thought it was the most. I shouldn't have. I've been talking about 18, but I just read that book 3 days ago, so I'm real happy I got it. But these are some of the things in divine appointment. He went to an orphanage down there because of all these children, and the president of Mexico came in with his white helicopter, and when he picked him up to take him to an orphanage, there was somebody else, a little girl laying in red. So he brings the hell. It was his cousin, one that escaped. One of his children, of his family members, was able to escape. She's only 2 years old. So he saved not only Salvador, but saved the other one. And they went to an Adventist orphanage, and then they put him up to an Andrews University, and they made a pastor out of him. And that's how I got to meet him up here. And how I met him is he got busy reading the book of the Bible here. If you turn to Habakkuk 2:2, upon these tables, and that's what his radio ministry was called, Upon Tables. His name is Salvador Gomez, and the last I knew, because he's up in the jungle, I think he went back to his family, because the mom says, please come. Oh yeah, how he came back, the orphanage says, you don't know where your family is, you haven't been there. He's 25 now, becoming a pastor. He says, we're going to take you, and the professor at down in Mexico said, I want to come with you to help you. He said, I'll need some help to meet my family because I know my mom and dad are dead. So kind of hold him up. Well, anyway, he went to the house, he walked in. They had to walk in a long ways. And anyway, so he asked, he says, do you know anybody in that house? He said, yes, her name is Magdalena. And he says, Magdalena, that's my mama's name. But it has a different last name, And so anyway, he went to knock on the door to his mother's house, and she answered the door, and he didn't recognize her, because 9 and 25 is a big difference. He didn't recognize her. And the little girl was there, because she could speak. They speak Maya. They don't speak Mexican. They speak Maya. And so anyway, she did their language, and come to find out, I said, did you used to have a first husband? Yes, Mr. Gomez. Did you have a son? And his name Oscar? And then she looked up and she said, oh, my Oscar. And it's like I say, hope Richard reads the book. It's the most powerful book I've ever read. I just found it by trying to stretch my fingers out. So that's kind of divine appointments I have of meeting it. But these are really special to me. These are the charts that went around the world in 1843. These went around the world to every mission station in the world. And so I've got friends from Vietnam, China, Romania. They all keep the seventh day as a Sabbath. They're just like a Protestant. They are Protestants, but they keep all 10 of the commandments. And this here is Babylon, Medo-Persia, Darius. He says, even Darius says, I didn't win this huge. Did you know how big Babylon was? It was 200 miles square. It was the size of Portland, and the walls were 200 feet high, and they were what was it, 100 feet wide. They had races up on the top. I mean, you have no idea the size of Babylon. And this is Greece, and they call that Macedonia, the Maypole. And do you know what they called Italy? They called it May. It wasn't called Italy. It was called May, the Maypole. That's why January, February, March. And so anyway, this, and then here the legs, and then the dividing, where the Pope tried to get them to join by the French marrying into the Spanish and this and that. And but during the time of Rome, there was three. I think it was Huns, the Ostrogoth, and the Visuali. Or no, there was not. I can't remember. Anyway, there's three of them that they took out. There's not one alive today. And there's seven here, though. These are all in the Bible, of the book of Daniel and the book of Revelation. And here's Jesus. But there's what makes it special here is there's a little word called daily. Well, all the Protestants believe the daily is the ministry of Jesus. But the Adventists, the old Adventists, not the new ones, the old Adventists said it meant paganism. So a continual means paganism. But these are the power of Revelation 17, the Scarlet Woman. Now here, I'll show you some of the neat stuff I got here. Okay, here's May 14. Pope's always talking about May 14 before that COVID hit. And by the way, when that COVID hit, that was amazing because I get to sing. And so they asked me to sing, and I got a phone call. Well, first I got to sing, and then I got a phone call Friday. But I was there March 6th, and I yelled at them. I said, "You guys let me sing 60 times, I want to yell at you." I said, "Something terrible is going to happen. I've been studying my Bible. Something terrible is going to happen. They've been spraying this aluminum for 33 years, and whenever there's a 33, the war of 1833, Hitler's war, there's going to be something terrible happen. I don't know what it is. There's something terrible is going to happen." Anyway, I got a call Friday night. He said, Miguel Musica, don't come to church. Not because you screamed at us, but he says, how did you know 6 days before you told us that something terrible? And that's when the COVID hit. The aluminum was my signal. I counted from 1987. That's when it started. It was here, May 14th. That's when the evil Jew come in. Now, what's the evil Jew? They don't worship any commandment. Kill, 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 kill. And that's what the Ashkenazis are. They're up there by there's lakes up there in Russia. But these are just things to see it there. Here's the other one. This is I've got this on my car. I had one little high school girl. She went by, and I see her. I got it separate. It says fish hat, sun god. But if you put it together, it says fish hat. Well, who's the fish hat guy? The Egyptian. The Pope is not Italian. He's Egyptian. They worship the god called Horus Seb. That's what they do. Oh, this is stuck to here. This is my Woody, Richard, I did when I was in high school. I restored it. It took me a whole year. I inherited this, but my uncle gave me $70,000 for my son to go to school, so I gave it back to him, and I should have kept it because I restored it. But this is my 46 Woody. See, during the war of World War II, they didn't have no wood, so they made a Ford Woody. And so I restored it. It took me a whole year. But this kept me from drinking and smoking and doing bad things in high school. This is my ticket for longevity of keeping me out of trouble. So anyway, Carol, I thought I'd show it to you. And let's see here. So anyway, it says here, what in the world are they spraying? What are they spraying up there? I was in Scioto, Oregon, and I saw black come out of one side and white come out of the other. Nobody monitors these people because the Pope owns the presidents and he can do whatever he wants to do. People don't know how wicked our government is. It's terribly wicked to want to, like the Obamacare, and then Trump tried to use something to make something good out of it. It's terrible. But anyway, this is Greta. How much did they pay Greta to get people riled up? That's the Pope's puppet right there. Greta. Greta, Greta. That's what people say. Oh, maybe Pope, you can do this. The Pope is the one that's doing all this. He's not innocent. Just because somebody wears the Lone Ranger white doesn't make you holy. These people are wicked, wicked. He's wanted for murder, rape, and child trafficking. And why did Ratzinger didn't go to a nursing home. He's in a prison. They put him in a prison. Why was he in a prison? For murder, rape, and child. JP Toole, he got away with it. He's also wanted for murder, rape, and child trafficking. He's the one that built that big prison up in Alaska, and Reagan's got his umbrella over the Pope's head. What? I thought Reagan was a good man for the Berlin Wall. We're so busy watching the Berlin Wall, they built 300 prisons for you and I people, the Americans, to enslave us. That's why I know. By the way, I asked that man that came by my house, how did you recognize Hitler? Oh, he's 98 years old. He says, Mike, you can see the line where they put another face in him. He says, the gas can's a big lie. The gas can's a big lie. You can see the line, his ears, jaw, nose, ear. And if you went on computer, they showed a picture of Hillary and Hitler. They were identical. Everything was identical to them. So keep it in mind, Clinton wasn't our president. He's a car salesman. Hillary brought the nuclear warhead secrets to China. Why? She owns GI Farben. GI Farben from Germany to China. That's why she's over there taking care of her drugs. She didn't just do that. When Obama was in power, they went up there in Baghdad and up north. They had a guy in brand new tennis shoes says, we won the war. Guess what? There's nobody there. Hillary brought in 300 ships up to half the NAFTA. And you notice that Canada is 50% Muslim now. 50% Muslim. And they get away with whatever they want to do. They have church services. We got shut down on COVID. You couldn't go to a Methodist or Baptist. But those Muslims, why are the Muslims? Because Khadijah was Muhammad's wife. Khadijah was, in 600, was a Roman Catholic nun. And her dad and her dad's brother owned the shipping. You ever go to a gas station, see the guy with the hats on? Those tulip hats? That's because they're the first daughter of the papacy. Nobody knows this information. We went online, we punched in, and the man come back on the computer. He says, where did you get this information? Where did you find out? We gotta stop this leak. We gotta stop this leak. Well, we shut down that computer because the man that was at the computer, he's been having crazy things happen at his shop and stuff because he knows too much. And that's like me. I know too much, but there's only about 2 more years. I figure the world's going to last 2 more years at the most. We're at the very end, and the last ones are going to be troublous times. Man, can it get any worse? 2 big hurricanes that hit Florida? Those don't just happen, people. It's done by the United States government up there in Canada. It's HARP. They made that one tsunami that hit with Bush Jr. that took out the Straits of Malta. Why? Because they wouldn't sign. They signed after. Japan, there's big yellow, you'll see the lights that look like the northern lights to come on. And it's so wicked how people in high power want to take out people. But when you die in the Lord, you will be raised again. And people say, well, that takes a lot of faith. Well, I tell you what, if you hold on to anybody that's on the earth, they're not good people. There's no saviors except Jesus. Jesus is the Savior. Now let's see here. This is my Mexican. This used to be a key. This is Revelation 14. The Trace Angelus coming out. That's why I got trumpets here. This is really a powerful one. If you take time to study, I got it set to melody, so I can sing it not in Spanish but in English. So I sang it up at Woodburn. This is very, very powerful. It's all about, and if any man worship beast in his image, there's a mark. That mark's going to be Sunday. That shows you the power of the Pope. Now, I told you about the Gregorian calendar. He owns Capernalia. In Lent. Lent means to cry 50 days for Tammuz. And then they have Ishtar. That's Easter. They're worshiping the sun in the east. And the Catholic people, they're worshiping Jesus. But the top people, they're worship the Egyptian cult language. They're the cult. Christians aren't cults because you're one-on-one contract with the Lord. But the systems are cults, terrible cults. And then there's Samhain. Right now, next week will be Samhain. What I like about Uncle Sam wants your children, that's where the word Samhain comes from. Uncle Sam wants your children for the wars. They put yellow ribbons around the trees. It's very, very wicked. And it says there the creeping things. So I was going to sing it last Wednesday to Richard's church. It's called Ezekiel 8. It talks about Capernalia, Ishtar, Samhain, Saturnalia. Saturnalia is smelling the fir boughs. See, Lucifer smelling the fir boughs. It's all to do with sex, sex, sex. My mom was at my house, and I was watching in Egypt. I said, Mom, what is this? He says, man, this is an old picture about 2000 BC or whatever. In Egypt, the columns of their colleges had penis heads. They worship fertility. It's all to do with fertility worship. Father, mother, child. It's not to do with a Father, Son, and Holy Ghost. It's totally different. It's very, very wicked. But anyway, I'll show you another one. Let's see what this one is. This is my hero. This is my hero right here, Desmond Doss. He's up on the mountain there in someplace around Japan. I think 50 people off the mountain. And this man, nobody would do it. He said, I need a volunteer. And nobody would. This man's an Adventist, Saturday keeper, and he's a non-combatant. My grandpa, I got a picture over here of my grandpa. He was the same thing, non-combatant. Strongest guy in the World War I was my grandpa John. I mean, every wrestling match, they couldn't get Big John. He's 6'4", just solid iron. But anyway, this is Desmond Doss, and the hill, the clouds were down low, so he couldn't see the people, but they came up to him afterwards, and they couldn't shoot him down. They couldn't shoot him down. Here he is rescuing up to 50 people, and he's got to go up a mountain and put him in a rope harness and take him down inch by. It takes about an hour to take one off the mountain. That's that dangerous. And he takes them down. He rescued all 50 of them. And they say, why didn't you shoot me? He says, because we're not as brave as you are. In our church in Japan, in our religion in Japan, what you just did was the ultimate. It was the ultimate. Nobody would have even thought of doing what you just did. And they're only like 50 yards away. Just pluck him off because the mountain goes up and you can see him on the hillside there. But he got big purple award or something like, I don't know what it was. This is my special. And then I told you about my friend Salvador. I will do another one here. This is the closing scenes of the one who wrote 100,000 pages. She wrote the whole Bible. Do you wonder why Billy Graham became so famous? Because he read the book called Desire of Ages. And that's what he preached out of, was the book, Desire of Ages. Now, he turned into a 33rd degree Mason. I told you about Reagan. Regensburg, Germany is where the Pope is inaugurated to be the Pope. And guess who's in the front row? Billy Graham. But anyway, she wrote all the books from Patriarchs and Prophets, Desire of Ages, Acts of the Apostles, and then the great book called Great Controversy. But this is an amazing woman, and here's Miriam the prophetess. She was a prophetess. Now they say, what did a prophetess do? What's the difference? Did you know that King David, when he wrote his Psalms, he didn't breathe? Nobody's ever heard such a thought. Miriam, when she was a prophetess, she didn't breathe. That's a signal of being a prophet. Daniel, when he didn't breathe. Here's a better picture. That's him and his wife. Oh, look. This is a Revelation 10:10, the sweet bitter. This is in Mexican. I got it set to melody. This is very, very important. This is the start of the Adventist faith right here. Where it was turn sweet, turn bitter. That's when we come to Oregon in 1845. This here I had on my blazer on the way up to Spokane, and I raised my blazer up so people could read it. And then I had this on it, and you have to look really close so people come up. These are the kegers of aluminum. There's nobody on the jets. Oh, I got upside down. Thank you, my brother. These are the kegers. Kegers. I had this in my blazer all the way up on the Columbia River. Old Harley, big Harley. He owned all Portland. He had those leather straps. I mean, he had over $10,000 worth of clothes on and brand new Harley. Anyway, he was curious, and I saw his hands go up. He didn't believe a word I said. Don't believe me. Just look online. Look up. What in the world are they spraying? Well, guess what? There was a Mexican guy that was pumping gas, and guess what he said? I passed out a little piece of paper. He says, "Can I have one of those papers?" He said, "I work at this gas station, and I see line clouds, thousands of them every day, and the news don't tell nothing about it." Then I went up to another town where are the watermelon at?
Hermiston.
Yeah, Hermiston. And there's a welding shop as you come into town, and big Mexicans. They aren't just small guys like me. There's big. Richard's big, but I mean this guy is huge. Anyway, I'm smart. The reason I'm smart because I'm not. People like me. I'm kind, and so I get information. So instead of searching the whole town, where's the Adventist church? Where's Les Schwab? That's the only two places I go to. I said, sir, I says, have you ever noticed those sky? He said, I take smoke breaks out here. He said, it makes me sick to see it. He said, do you know what that is all about? He said, no. Could you tell me? I said, that's what I'm here for. And so I told him about how they sprayed aluminum and the clouds get bigger and bigger. I said, they've even got jets where they go like this. It's like a tic-tac-toe. You'll see the jets make a circle in the sky, and then they go like this. Anyway, he says, I can't believe it. So his partner, he said, I think I got you fired. I talked to him about 20 minutes. He says, no, I'm the boss. He works for me. So anyway, when I left, they didn't go back in. They stood out there. They stood out there about 100 yards, and they went like this. They were so happy for the light, for the truth, because they have a smoke break, and they look up, says something terrible's happening. And then there's one beautiful lady, and she happened to be a Mexican again. I stopped in again. She ran the gas station, and I got talking to her, and she was shuffling around. I said, uh-oh, I'm talking secret society stuff, and they're going to turn me in. I thought she's getting a pistol, to kind of hold me down until the cops got there. I get scared a little bit once in a while because I know too much information. Anyway, she said, will you come here for a minute? I said, well, can't get any worse. I can put handcuffs on without a gun. You don't have to point a gun at me. Anyway, she took the camera, and she says, I've been watching these aluminum trails, and nobody's got an answer. And you come in just miles an hour, and she said, I'm going to put my arm around you, and I'm going to put the camera, and we're going to have our picture taken together. And my wife doesn't know this happened, but she was the most gorgeous woman you've ever seen, because I'm over the hill. I'm over 74. But it was such a wonderful feeling that here I thought I was going to get turned in by the law, and she was taking my picture. So I got the reversal, she says, I know you keep the Sabbath, and that's in our language, the word Sabado means Sabbath. And she said, I don't know why we go to church on Sunday, but she said, I think I'll look into this. Anyway, I thought it was really pretty cool. I'm hoping she's still there, but that's been about a few years ago. This year is I already got those done. This year is what is planned for the 1,000 seaboards. Now, this doesn't come in very clear. I've shared this to a lot of churches, but I've got here 1849. Because we're in the old right here. That's old Suzanne. I want you to correct me. That's Susanville down here. Okay? That's named after my great-great-grandma. That's Rush. You heard of the football team called the 49ers? They're named after what my grandma did, because Grandpa came down there in 49, and that's where he made 9,000 in one summer. Now that's in 49. And guess who went with him? The first sheriff of Salem. William Jackson was Susan's brother. And so right here, these are the two trails. And the Mormons, the beautiful Mormons, they don't know. They didn't carry no guns. They have faith in Joseph Smith. They don't know that he's a Mason. He's a secret society. And so the Pope helped write his book. People don't know what I know. And anyway, here's John Day. Have you ever heard of the town called John Day? That's my great-great-great-grandpa. That man is why I'm alive. That man, he was in charge of our 300 wagons, a lot of wagons, man. He's in charge of all of it. And so he's got Susan, his daughter. He's got William Jackson. And I've got here a picture. I don't know if I can find it, Richard. Let's see, here's another one. This is let's see, I don't know which one this is. Oh yeah, this is just the chart that went around the world, but I was going to get it. And I find stuff. Let's see, here it is, right here. Here it is. I really appreciate this, Richard. These are the two tables. See there? There's the first one, 1843, and there's just sitting over there. This is my Grandpa John, strongest. Nobody beat him in wrestling. This man, his name is Sunshine, and he was a non-combatant just like this. These are my two great heroes. This is my Grandpa John in World War I. Did you know the war? Who started that war? They had a thing called the Spanish flu. Remember that flu? They gave them all a shot. Did you know who was responsible for killing all those people? His name was Prescott Bush. Prescott Bush was the one that was the president of Eli Lilly. And their goal was to kill them all off. So they gave him an injection of the Spanish, just like the COVID. You're not going to get no COVID unless you get the shot. Did you see it on the freeway? It says, get the shot now. Same thing in World War I. Get the shot now. Well, you're forced to. You're in the service. Prescott Bush is the father to Bush Sr. And Bush Sr. was the one that went to Iraq to get rid of, not Kuwait, because Rumsfeld and the president went, hey, if we'll look the other way, you go ahead and rape and kill Kuwait and take their oil. Well, after they got rid of the Kuwait oil, guess what? There's only one left. Because Rockefeller owns everything else. It's called monopoly. Monopoly. That's what J.P. Morgan was all about, making a monopoly. And so guess what? That's why they took out the oil for Iraq. And this guy called Saddam, the whole thing's a big lie. He had a beard, and he grew real fast. Everything's just one lie. And where they hold their family, his family was taken care of in England. In England. So I say, it's just one big mass making a monopoly for the Rock, Oddfellow, and the Pope. I'll put that right there. Let's see what we got here. I think about got pretty much. Oh yeah, my picture here. See, this is what it looks like now. This is what it looks like. Nobody even knows any of this information of "Oh Susanna, won't you cry for me?" The guy just yesterday, they got the fields all done, the ryegrass people, and I says, "Hey, have you ever heard that song called Oh Susanna?" "Oh yeah." I said, "Well, that's my great grandma that come from Alabama." And I says, "Well, my grandpa was a gold assayist of Alabama," and I says he was sick. That's why he cried for me, because he almost died. And I says he got to the Dalles, and when they took that Trapper Trail, it was John's day. It used to be apostrophe S. I was at an auto store, and I was bragging about my family tree, of course, and the lady says, "You sure seem like you know what you're talking about. I'm from John Day." Oh, you are you?" She says, "Yeah." She says, "When I was 15, it used to say John's Day with apostrophe S." She says, "You're telling the truth." I said, "Well, I'm sure glad I'm telling the truth." Somebody was checking out my work. But this is what we are doing today. Now, I'm going to try to figure out where I put the other one. Maybe I didn't bring it in. It's a picture of the wagon train. I'm not very organized. I get a lot done.
Right there, Mike.
Oh, he's got it up in the air. This is it. This is it, man. I found this here and I want it so bad. Why did I want it so bad? There's Steve Meek. Steve Meek, Carol, right there. Steve Meek is Trader Joe grocery store. They're brothers. They're not our friends. They're trapper men. They're going to trap us on the Trapper Trail for beaver pelts. What are they going to do? There's no water. So they send them down to Wagon Tire. That's why it's called Wagon Tire. It looks like that. There's nothing there. There's no water down that way. So there's Steve Meek on the Trapper Trail. He followed Steve Meek into the brush. And when he followed him into the brush, there was 250 Indians in the brush. Now, Steve Meek didn't know he was being followed. He snuck in. I got pictures here of John Heron, Susan's dad. And then he said, "Hey, that's what he's going to do. All those beaver pelts, water, and we're lost with one man. He's killing us all up." We lost 30 within 2 days. 30 people dying. That's pretty serious, even today. So anyway, and this is John Heron, right here. That's John Heron. I don't know if there's enough light here. Is it good enough for you? Can I get it closer? Let's see here. I'm trying to get the light just right. Anyway, that's Susanna in there. She had a little baby. And see, there's the yoke oxen. And there was one in here I saw for a baby calf. And I thought possibly, because of all my divine appointments, that yoke oxen of the baby calf could have belonged to them. Now, this stuff happens to me. I got my cornet here. Got it 50 years later. I have divine appointments. In fact, I was in Montana, and there was an air organ and a piece of wood missing out on one side. It ended up in, my wife bought it for $300. Pump air organs they put in the Baptist churches and stuff. I got it in my house. So I have a lot of divine appointment. But this is really special. And this is William Jackson Heron, the first sheriff of Salem. That's Susan's sister. And see all the wagons back behind here coming. But this is amazing. I happen to, Man, my wife Cheryl says, can you imagine it? And see, the Indians, he acts like he doesn't know what's going on. It's all to do with trade-nets for beaver pelts. Otherwise, I wouldn't be here today. Thanks to John. Let's see. Here we go. Now, let's see. I think that's it's a beautiful story I have to share with you. And I know this won't sound like much, but if you can remember this right here, this shows you the presidents of the United States. And you didn't know this, but Abraham Lincoln and John F. Kennedy are two of the greatest men that ever walked. They died knowing they're going to be raised again. They knew it. And they said, well, Marilyn Monroe is having an affair with Marilyn Monroe. There's something kind of funny there. I says, who knows what's really going on? If Jacqueline Onassis, is stuck on some island so she can't talk, and she's there a year before with John the 23rd for secret orders, and Johnson in the limousine on the floor, you know, is he going to be shot? He's shaking. And then Hoover was in charge of the whole thing. Inside job. Why? Because John F. Kennedy, separation church and state. Abraham Lincoln, separation church and state. And what are we today? We're trying to make the Catholics take over the world. Now, Catholics are good people, but the system is nothing but murder, murder, murder. They'll do anything. There's over 10 presidents. George Washington bled to death. Bled to death? Oh, I thought that was the pause. They knew exactly what, he had a cold. He wasn't even sick. And they bled him to death. The Pope did this. Why? Because he was a high Mason and he didn't follow orders. Well, I think that's probably about all. I can't think of anything more to cover for territory. But these are the two tables right here of October 22. These are the ones that no, there's not an Adventist today that even know what I know. They just Saturday, they didn't know any of this information. So I'm not the newer Adventist, I'm the older ones. The ones today are all Roman Catholic. Roman Catholics run our church. Reagan, that was the deal. When Reagan faced the obelisk, there was a real neat guy, I can't think of his name, but he was a 33rd degree Mason, and he switched over. Alberto Rivera. Alberto Rivera said when Reagan faced the obelisk, and instead of facing on the other side of the lawn, that was the signal for all the Jesuits around the world to let them know that every church is taken over. Every church. I got pastors, Pentecostals, and speak in tongues and stuff. And he come up to me and he said, I was in a jet, and this guy was next to me, and I knew it was a secret society. And he said, well, you Jesuits haven't gotten our church. You say you've got, what I told you again, you've got all churches under control. We have to. And did you hear about this big fire? The fire, how many fires? 2 million acres this year. Did you know that didn't happen until they made one man in charge of all the fires? So they get to the top, and then they say, oh, there's a delay. I've got 5 people that I know from these fires that are started here. They're all done on purpose. All done on purpose. This Marion Lake fire, I used to go up there, almost got killed by a cougar. He followed me into camp. Did you see the fire? The fire usually goes like this. And what it did was, the fire was like this. And then you could see where he was making fires along the trail. And my friend Vern, he was up at Detroit. He was there when the fire, the forester guy allowed that to take place. And I got lost. I get lost easy. I pick up hitchhikers, and I'm not supposed to do that. And then I'm lost. I was up there Crescent. It was a kind of a shortcut or something, and I didn't know where it was. This old guy, like me, he had a dog, and I says, hey, could you show me how to get off the mountain? I said, I got to get back to Oak Ridge. And he says, do you know where you're at? I had no idea. I said, I was just picking up some hitchhikers, and I thought it was 2 women, and the guy would look like it was just a man and a girl from New Hampshire or something. I said, this isn't good to hitchhike around here. Anyway, I went there, and he says, you see right down there? He says, that's where the forest rangers lit the fire. Really? I said, I know an Adventist girl, she's a Mexican, and she helps with the blind people at Big Lake. And she went up on Saturday to rest, and she went up for a trail walk, and there was no blue tent. And then she come back down, here's a blue tent, and garbage strung everywhere, just lit on fire. And the man's running down the hill to get out of the scene. So she's there, she got her smartphone. I don't have one because if you got one on you, they know right where you're at. So I don't carry one. I like people to know where I'm at. Anyway, she called 911. They didn't come for 4 days. They didn't come to put the fire out for 4 days. These fires are all on purpose. Look at Springfield area and Eugene. They want to clean it out so you can't escape. They've already got the cable on I-5 freeway. People, we're at the end of the world. There's going to be a time of trouble such as you've never seen. And I believe there's going to be 1,000 seaports any day. I mean, it's. I've been telling this to people, and it's a prophecy in our books and stuff. And 1,000 seaports, that's Los Angeles. That's oh man, just all these beautiful places. But if you can, get out of the city if you can. I live a little out in the country, but biggest thing right now is my biggest thing is building a foundation. And the only way you're going to build a foundation is go out and help somebody. I mean, we got all this into, we got worried about our food. Richard here, he goes out and helps people. And I have a great love. And I met one guy, I worked at Fairview for quite a while, and he said, you're just like my friend Roger Brown. He helps people. He helps people. And that's what builds a good foundation, because God makes things happen when you go out and do this or do that. And say, don't worry about a paycheck. Just go out and do it, because that's what Jesus would do. And tell people about getting away from Pepsi. All my family are BF Goodrich. Bad food, good. They didn't die of beer or alcohol. They died of bad food, good and rich. So try to stay away from certain things. And I know my friend Oscar, he always said, I always eat a little bit of sugar, but I said, well, I don't. My son even ended up in the hospital because he ate a bunch of M&M cookies, and he took a hot shower and almost killed him. So, but I want to have a little prayer before I close here, Richard. I think it covered about everything. Heavenly Father, we're so thankful to be in the land of the living. We know, Lord, time is short, and Lord, every soul is so precious. Money is nothing. It's how can you go out and be a blessing to somebody. And Lord, help us especially with our families, for many people are going to turn against us. But it says in the Bible that the remnant is a very small amount of people. So if you're looking at a big church, that's not the answer. It's a very small amount of people. And stick closer to what the Bible says to do, to obey and keep his commandments. And thank you, Lord, for Richard and these beautiful people that have helped put out this message today. I pray, Lord, that it'll go around the world to every nation, kindred, tongue, and people. For that's what it's all about, is seeing those crowns. And that we had something to do with saving somebody's life for eternity. In Jesus' precious name, amen.
Amen.